Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor as he travels the Vortex and landed at episode number 77. And Glenn, why is it that every time I start to talk to someone, you knock him unconscious? I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
And I'm going to knock you both unconscious. I'm Glenn.
Happy Father's Day, Glenn.
Thank you very much.
Yes, happy Father's Day.
Thank you. It's been a very nice Father's Day.
What'd you do for your Father's Day?
Well, let's see. To start the day, I woke up and the kids brought me breakfast and bread.
Ah.
They made themselves a Pop-Tart and a glass of milk, which is my favorite breakfast, so I eat that about every day anyway.
Delicious
So
and nutritious.
That's right. Then they took me to lunch, and actually, that's not true. Holly took me to lunch, technically, because the kids wanted to eat at home, and so she ran and got Taco Villa, which is my favorite fast food restaurant, and brought it home. And we ate at home, and then we went out this afternoon. We took my dad to Red Robin. Well, actually, we took my dad to Red Robin tonight, and he paid.
I took my dad for coffee, and he paid for coffee.
Yeah, and he says, Happy Father's Day. I was like, well, that was supposed to be your treat. So we took him and my mom to Orange Leaf afterwards, and we paid for Orange Leaf.
There
so
you go.
We topped it off with Orange Leaf, and then came home and dumped the pool and refilled it for the kids, so it's ready for next week because the water's starting to get a little ripe.
I would imagine.
So you
That's
ate
pretty much
today.
Caitlin and I went and played disc golf, too, for the afternoon. I knew there was something else in there. So I ate today. Yeah, but I walked some of it off.
You ate pretty good.
Yeah.
You had Pop-Tarts and burgers and Orange Leaf and
Taco Villa.
You didn't go to Red Robin?
Oh, we did go. Yeah, that's what we had tonight. Red Robin. Yes, burgers. Yes.
Not in that order.
You were going backwards.
I was just reciting.
I was going. No, I didn't eat burgers for lunch. Oh, yeah, for dinner.
I was not attempting to chronologically, chronicle what you had consumed. I was just commenting that there was a lot of it.
Well, why not?
It wasn't that good.
Oh, okay.
Anything exciting on Saturday?
What did we do on Saturday? I can't even remember what we did on Saturday.
Apparently not.
What did I do on
I think
Saturday?
we did some. The kids swam. We did some yard work. I mean, it was a typical Saturday.
I ran errands. Wasn't very exciting.
We went to Denny's Saturday night because the kids eat free.
I think I saw your tweet about that.
Boy, we sure hit the places where the kids eat free. That's for certain. Dickies, we didn't eat there today, but the kids eat free on Sunday at Dickies. So Dickies barbecue.
You could have gotten free ice cream at Cold Stone.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually,
we thought about going there with my dad, but then thought it was going to be just too busy.
Orange Leaf was you got 3 ounces for free if you were a dad.
Oh,
so they took 3 ounces worth off your total bill. Because if people don't know, Orange Leaf is a frozen yogurt place where you walk in, you grab a
frozen
cup.
yogurt bar in a sense.
Yeah, you walk in, grab a cup, and they have all these machines along a wall, and you go put your favorite flavors in, and then you go to the toppings bar, and there's a bar where you can just put fruit or chocolate chips or peanuts or just the whole works. And then you go over and you put it on a scale and you pay by the ounce. I think it's 49 cents per ounce.
I've never been. I don't know.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
You should go to Orange Leaf. It's really good.
We thought about it.
So then you pay
with
by
Orange Leaf.
Oh, I love Orange Leaf.
I like 3 Spoons in Lawrence. I love 3 Spoons.
I like 3 Spoons.
I don't like
3
Orange
Spoons
Leaf.
is good, but Orange Leaf is awesome. But 3 Spoons is ice cream. It's not yogurt.
No, it's yogurt. It's frozen yogurt.
Are you sure?
Really, I can't taste the difference.
No, I can't with those. Custard, I can taste the difference.
Custard, I can taste a
ice
little
cream
bit
and
of
yogurt, I can't. Are you sure? It didn't used to be then.
I am 99.9%
That's the one over by the
9% positive.
By the AMC, right?
No, that's Silas and Maddie's. You're
I am thinking of
Kansas
Silas.
City.
I am thinking of Silas and Maddie.
Although there used to be a Silas and Maddie's in Lawrence, downtown Mass, but this is 3 Scoops,
Okay.
which is also downtown
Right,
Mass.
I got you.
Scoops or 3 spoons?
And that's
3
what I was
spoons.
thinking of because Silas and Maddie's was in Lawrence.
There's also the Cupcake Construction Company in Lawrence. Have you been there?
I don't know. I didn't go
You
on
pretty
Burger
much
King.
go and make your own
cupcake. Oh, that's clever.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. What'd you guys do for your dads? Anything special? You said you took your dad to coffee.
We took my dad to coffee, spent like 3 hours sitting at Starbucks just chatting.
Really? For 3 hours? I couldn't sit at Starbucks for 3
Yeah,
hours.
we met at 1, we left at 4.
Wow.
It was about an hour longer than a normal coffee visit with my dad. So.
Oh, so you do 2-hour coffee visits most of the time.
We do 2-hour coffee visits once a month so there's a lot to catch up on. Yeah. I got him a gift certificate to Tup Tim Thai restaurant here in Topeka. He went to Thailand not too long ago. I think I mentioned that on the podcast. And my dad is so hard to shop for. Like, for the past 10 years, for Father's Day and for his birthday, I've got him Starbucks gift cards because he's a big Starbucks guy. Sure. But lately, he's switched over to the Starbucks Gold card, where it's pretty much a preloaded gift card that he puts money onto.
I see.
So it's like, why get him a gift card when he's already using a gift card? And so I've struggled the last several years, and he really loves this Thai restaurant. So my sister had the brilliant idea of getting him that. So
that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Other than Father's Day, I had a 4-day weekend.
Oh, yeah, you were off Thursday and Friday.
Yeah,
we noticed at work. Believe me. I noticed every time I heard Kelly complain about producing the 9.
Yeah, of course.
Because I don't help her.
Yeah.
Unlike you. And of course,
it's
Ben
my show.
And Ben was off, too. Yeah, but
Ben was
you
off.
help with you help her with other shows when you're doing...
When I do the
right, when you do the 6 and 10,
an allegiance to the 9 because it's my show.
Yeah,
I want to make sure my show isn't screwed up.
That makes sense. All right, I suppose if I were there and producing your shows and somebody else was doing mine, I guess
you
I would
jump in and help out. Yeah. Sarah had a work function. I mentioned it last week that she created a rubber ducky, Super Duck.
Right.
Which it's in front of the TV if you didn't notice it.
Oh, I didn't see it.
I'll have to go grab it.
Okay.
And take a picture and post it on the website.
No,
I have encased myself in here now, and I'm not getting up from this chair again.
She won first place in the beauty contest.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So we went to that. It was pretty fun. It was. I wouldn't say it was fun. It was a work outside function. People I don't know, kind of awkward. And then we went out and played disc golf with, met up with Sean and Billy and Patrick on the last 9 holes of Lake Shawnee. That got the bug in me.
Did you play over the...
I did not play over. I did not play over. I wasn't even playing with my own discs. I looked at that spans and I said, I couldn't even throw that.
No. No way.
Even if I got down to the bank, I couldn't make it across.
He eyeballed it.
I did eyeball it.
I could see the gears turning.
If it were my discs, I would maybe consider it. I was playing with Patrick's. I didn't want to risk losing a disc. And so I got the bug, and now I have a disc golf set. And the rest of the weekend was spent, Friday.
Ready, Sean?
We ran errands.
One of us. One of us. One of us.
We're working on getting Blake now.
Oh, yeah.
He was over for Friday Night Who, and he seemed somewhat open to the idea.
Good. Good.
Saturday night, I grilled steaks for Sarah's dad and the family.
Yeah.
That was about it.
Sean, did you do anything for your dad?
No, we're going to go out and do ours tomorrow. He decided he didn't want to do it over the busy weekend, so...
It makes sense, because places are super busy. In fact, I was surprised we got into Red Robin tonight, but I think we went late enough.
Well, that's probably why you went from food joint to food joint to food joint, because it took so long to wait for your table that by the time you got done, you're like, man, I'm hungry again.
Yeah.
Where do we go? But
no, that's why Holly brought Taco Villa home, because she said, boy, if we went there and waited, and if the kids had eaten, it would have been a madhouse. But.
So, we decided we're going to wait and do it tomorrow, and he wants to go out to lunch and see Snow White and the Huntsman.
Oh.
Which I had passed on when the group activity came along. Hey, anybody want to go see this? I'm like, 2 words, hell and no. I just don't have any desire to go see it. So I asked him,
it's a good thing you didn't go there, because then you'd end up having to go twice.
If he picked anything, I'd have gone and seen it.
Sure.
I'd have drawn the line at Transformers 3, but,
It's a good thing that's not in the theater.
He asked, what's playing? And then I started reading off the list. He goes, ooh, that one. I want to go see that one. It's like, really? More than the Avengers or Prometheus, or you want to go see Snow White? Okay. So we're going to
Madagascar 3.
Well, I hadn't got to that one yet, so in a way I'm kind of grateful. Because I seem to remember one Father's Day, we went to see the original Madagascar. I think that might have been a Father's Day thing. And he laughed all the way through it.
It got #1 again. 3rd week out.
Yeah, Madagascar.
Yeah. It didn't get #1 the first week, and then the last 2 weeks it's been #1.
Yeah, it beat Prometheus last week.
It wasn't number one last week, but it did beat Prometheus.
But it came out 3 weeks ago.
Last week,
yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it wasn't Prometheus last week.
Yeah.
Right.
In its second week.
Yeah.
But the second weekend, or the first week, something was out for 2 weeks and still beat it. Now it's taken over.
Wasn't Men in Black, was it?
Yeah, it was Men in Black.
Okay. So Men in Black beat Madagascar its first week.
Its first week, and then Madagascar overtook.
Beat Prometheus its first week.
Which means Prometheus
what came out this week?
Rock of Ages, which Prometheus got like fourth.
So, Madagascar 3 beat out Rock of Ages, which in its first week. So
interesting.
Wow.
Well, those kids' movies are usually powerhouses.
Yeah, a lot of, especially in the summertime. I mean, there's not a lot of other things going on, so kids go to movies.
But no, so we're going to do that tomorrow, and I called Tom and wished him a happy Father's Day, and so.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, well, shall we move on to news?
And happy Father's Day to all of you fathers out there listening.
Absolutely.
Dr.
Even
Phil
though it is now midnight, no longer Father's Day.
But we got our Father's Day talk in before
That's right,
midnight.
We did.
Well, throwing out a news item, then one other thing that we can talk about, since I've got 11:59, and I'm going to talk about it beforehand, is a very happy birthday to Arthur Darvill.
We'd have been time in order to work to your advantage.
I can see the clock from here. Now it's 12, so no longer Arthur Darvill's birthday.
You just got it in.
Yeah. And my computer just clicked over, too. 12 o'clock. Happy belated birthday to Arthur Darvill. Thanks, Glenn.
Well, you got it in before midnight, so you're all right. As long as you start talking about it before midnight.
Well, in the news, the 11th hour convention was held over the weekend in Birmingham. Not Alabama. UK.
I was totally going there.
It was a 3-day celebration celebrating Matt Smith as the Doctor. It included Mark Shepard, Morgan Shepard, Simon Fisher-Becker, Nev McIntosh.
Friend of the show.
Simon Fisher-Becker.
Yes.
Nev McIntosh. For those that don't know, that's Madame Vastra. And then Katrin Stewart, a.k.a. Jenny. And Frances Barber, Madame Kevorkian. Well, not Kevorkian, whatever her real name is. Also Tony Lee and James Swallow.
Madame Kevorkian.
That's what we always called her.
Yeah, I know. One of these days we're going to have to straighten that out.
It's like Madame Covarin or something like that.
It's very close.
Yeah. Something to that nature. Well, anyway, Philip Malkin was gracious enough to send us a convention report. Now, Philip was the one that was planning to go to the big Doctor Who convention in Cardiff, and unfortunately, his mother-in-law fell ill, and so they were unable to attend. But he happened to be able to go to this one in Birmingham, and he sends us this report. Hi, Glenn. Hello to you, Keith, and Sean. Thanks for your kind words after I had to cancel my Cardiff report. I hope to make some amends by telling you about my experiences over the last few days at the 11th Hour Convention in Birmingham. Hopefully, the best is yet to come tomorrow. As I live very close by and have 3 young children, I opted to travel from home to the venue each day rather than stay over. No doubt I have missed much, but attending... I'm laughing at my dings because he just posted something
I
to Facebook.
posted the doc to Facebook. So it's on my Facebook page and Twitter page.
Right. Hopefully no more dings will go off.
Siri,
here.
Are you listening? Still no response from that crazy lady.
I'll start this paragraph again. As I live very close by and have 3 young children, I opted to travel from home to the venue each day rather than stay over. No doubt I have missed much, but attending my first convention of any kind since Longleat in 1983, I have felt the experience has already been very rewarding with a well-run event and very relaxed and friendly atmosphere for me to enjoy. Friday night was meet and greet and coincided with a big international football match, England versus Sweden in the European Championships. 3-2 England, by the way. Hundreds of Doctor Who fans, some already in costume, took over the entire Hilton Metropole bar area. Many people here, clearly old friends, but as a newbie, I still felt able to mix in and enjoy. As the evening wore on, more and more of the stars in attendance joined the fans in the bar, some with an eye on the football. I was honored to watch the first half in a group of spectators, including Morgan Shepherd, who really seems to know his football. I'm a big football fan myself, and as someone who I assume spends a lot of time on set in America or traveling, he made very apt comments on the game and showed good knowledge of past and present football matters. Because of the roles both the Shepherds have played, I guess you'd tend to forget they are English until you hear them hold court. Today, having helped organize the children for a 5th birthday party, I got to the hotel in time to see Frances Barber's Q&A session. She's a very enthusiastic guest, a big name and face in this country, but very down-to-earth and generous in her praise for the fans and the time she spent socializing with them. She was fantastically enthusiastic during the autograph session, which I somewhat wrongly assumed would be a far more cynical and mechanical experience than it turned out to be.
It's always pleasant.
Yes. Her Q&A partner was Christina Chong, who clearly knew a little about Doctor Who. Why should she? And really struggled with a question about canine. Frances saved her with a fantastic true anecdote about her own bulldog's lewd and inappropriate at a dog show she once attended. Then came Dan Starkey and Simon Fisher-Becker, both bona fide Who fans. Highlights of their charming set included the following revelations. Dan believes a war between the Sontarans and Klingons would finish in a Sontaran victory based on sheer weight of Sontaran numbers in the field. Dan would love to feature in a Madame Vashta and Jenny spin-off series as a Sontaran in pinstripe suit with a small bowler hat perched on his potato head. Very, very period stylish. That would be great.
Moffat, make this happen now.
Simon would love to be the master and can already demonstrate several evil laughs he would use in which to mock the Doctor. I can hear that.
I can hear that.
Simon sent the crowd into a bit of a tiz when he declared, "Of course, Dorium has met all of the Doctors. Spoilers!"
Ooh.
Ooh. All right. Dan told a story about ripping the couch. Oh, excuse me. Let me start that over because that's not at all what he said. Dan told a story about ripping the crotch of his suit during the making of A Good Man. No. Yes, A Good Man Goes to War. That must be what the anagram is. He wrote the anagram. He was bustled to a trailer for repairs with glue, car paint, etc. Dan says if you watch the episode carefully, you might see evidence of the running repairs. Depends on how much time you wish to spend looking at a Sontaran's crotch. Then came Mark Shepherd and his dad, Morgan. What a fantastically funny and insightful hour that was. I am sure you are aware of Mark's reputation as a speaker and an interviewee. He didn't disappoint, leaving his chair early to walk around the auditorium and giving the tech crew a headache to keep up with him. He was flippant, risque, charming, and passionate in quick succession, but his warmth for sci-fi, Doctor Who, and his fans was quite clear. His dad was a great sport, putting up with his son's, I've never heard this word before, ebullient manner? We're going to go with it. His son's ebullient manner and slightly sending up his position as more elderly and less knowledgeable guest of the event. The fans asking questions ran the risk of The fans asking questions ran a risk as Mark would be quite Lennon-like in his tongue-in-cheek replies. For example, question, what's your favorite Subway sandwich? Answer, sit down now.
Good answer to that question.
When a fan asked Morgan and Mark what Mark was like as a director of Mysterious Island, Morgan said his son was a great director, keeping his direction clean, simple, and brief. Mark met his compliment with a feigned distaste, commenting that nothing great was described with those particular words, and it in fact sounded like a description of bad sex. Keith will be very pleased to hear that Mark, like myself, consider Matt and Tom Baker to be the best doctors, the Cybermen the best villains, and the Doctor's Wife is the best episode in recent years.
Yay!
His earliest Who memory was of the invasion. He's older than he looks. Question mark.
Marks?
All the guests
He may have caught it on a rerun. Don't tax your brain too much there. Most of us did catch the show in repeats.
He says his earliest Who memory was of invasion. So, yeah, he could have remembered it. Could have been about 2 or 3. All the guests looked genuinely pleased to engage with the fans at the signings. My observances were how tall and imposing Nev McIntosh seems and how dainty Katrin Stewart appeared after her ballsy portrayal of Jenny. She was very worried that her autograph would smudge on my poster, not the sentiment of somebody who wields a samurai sword on TV. And Simon Fisher Becker is officially merrier than the real Father Christmas.
Yay!
He should be Father Christmas.
He'd be good.
I attach a picture of the shepherds and the Dalek in the library. I'm sorry, it's not much to go on, but I'm technologically backward. So is Sean.
There are a few of us that share that designation around here.
Also, the convention has a clear and commendable, I feel, policy of discouraging a lot of photography and filming except at limited times. Less material for the podcast, I'm afraid, but it seems the guests are more encouraged to mix with the fans, knowing they will not face excessive obligation to pose, etc. This has meant that the fans have had more time to mix with the stars, perhaps, than at other events because there is more of a feeling that they are meeting on equal terms. Well, that makes sense. Thanks for your fantastic podcast. I really enjoy following it, albeit usually a few weeks behind the times. I hope this makes up in a small way for my lack of a Cardiff report. I won't be offended if you decide not to use it. Well, we are certainly using it.
Absolutely,
as you can
tell. Use it.
Best wishes, Phil M. And Phil, thank you so much for that report because that was fantastic. And quite frankly, I'm gonna embarrass us a little bit. We had no idea the 11th hour convention was even going on. So when we got this in our email box, we were ecstatic because it was there's no Doctor Who news this week.
Yeah.
And this is Doctor Who news that was off our radar all week. So it was fantastic to get this report, and we absolutely love that you sent it in. Now, that seemed to cover day 1 and 2. We know that day 3, Matt Smith was there. So we're hoping that if you got back there today, that there's going to be more.
We would love to hear the Matt Smith stuff.
Absolutely.
We'd love to hear more, period. I'm glad you had a good time, and I'm very, very glad that you found...
It sounds like a really fun convention.
Yeah, it sounded very much like everybody that was there had a vested interest in being there, as opposed to, I don't know, Eric Roberts, or some of those other people that we've harped on enough. Yeah, that sounds like a great convention.
And it sounds like he enjoyed Simon Fisher Becker just as much, and his sentiments about it were conveyed by you and Mel as well.
He's just the most effervescent guy you'll ever hope to meet. That's just him. I would be really curious to know. Now, you covered that Morgan Shepherd is very much the football aficionado and apparently expert.
Or at least knows very much about it. Yes.
I'm more interested in knowing what kind of fan is he. Is he the intellectual who knows everything about it and was sitting back going, well, back in 1924 we used to play this game without pads and that kind of stuff? Or is he the...
He's not that old.
Well, I'm using that as euphemism. I'm not saying for sure.
All right.
Or is he he showed up with face paint and no shirt and was screaming at the television with several other soccer hooligans? I'm curious to know which one he is. That's it.
Okay.
Well, before we can go on to feedback, I discovered one more bit of news.
Oh, okay. Keith apparently wasn't paying attention.
I was listening. I found this while Sean was talking.
Okay. You know that whole thing we just said about there's no news?
Well, yeah. According to reports in today, which was...
Oh, we can do this just in.
Oh,
this just
breaking news.
Breaking news.
It was posted at 11 a.m. today. yesterday.
That's not breaking news. But it is still just in.
According to reports in Sunday's British newspaper.
Right. This has just been handed to us.
Ron Grainer's Doctor Who theme will be one of 4 television themes played as part of the Olympic opening ceremony.
Ooh.
I thought you guys would
that
like that.
Started out very lame. I was like, okay. I mean, Mark Grainer's Doctor Who theme, yeah, we all know it. It's great. Will be one of 4 being played. Well, that's kind of interesting. Where's it going to be played? The opening of the Olympics. Whoa!
Now, it could be a grain of salt. This write-up I'm seeing says the Mail is...
No.
They were right
on
Jenna Louise.
The Mail is pretty reputable. Correct me if I'm wrong, UK listeners, but I think the Mail is relatively reputable. I think it's when you get to like the Sun.
The Sun. I'm sorry.
The Sun is
that's what I'm thinking.
The Sun is the one that's absolutely unreliable and is just a rumor rag. But I believe the Mail, again, UK listeners, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the Mail is fairly reputable.
Well, the Mail is reporting on... Although the Mail on Sunday, unsurprisingly, leads the story focusing ire on the choice of Frankie Goes to Hollywood's Relax and the Sex Pistols' God Save the Queen, it includes the full list. BBC News theme from 1954, the Coronation Street theme, Sousa's Liberty Bell March, specifically included for its Monty Python usage, and the Doctor Who theme will all feature.
Okay.
It's not known which of the many variants of the theme will be played, or whether there will be any new version prepared.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, that is good news.
That makes me a little excited for the. I'm usually I don't care about the Olympics.
I love the Olympics.
If it's on, and nothing else is on, I'll watch it. I don't seek it out.
Well, nothing else will be on at work but the Olympics, since we carry it.
Yeah.
So.
But it might be during one of my shows on another network.
That's true.
I hope you don't watch NBC.
All right. Well, should we move on to feedback?
Feedback.
All right. Terrific. Who's first, Keith?
First up, Dr. Phil.
All right. Let's give it a listen.
Okay. I was going to set it up a bit more.
We'll set it up a bit more.
Do we have a clip? Set it up for us.
This is some feedback he sent in last week or the week before that the audio file was bad, and he said he was going to send us a new copy. If he re-recorded it, it must have came in when our site was down and couldn't update.
Really, this is the setup?
This is the setup because he mentions it in the beginning.
Oh, okay.
This is a
if he mentions it in the beginning, do we really need to set it up?
He doesn't specify how.
All right.
Hang on, I'll do a better job of setting this up. Lost for weeks in the Traveling the Vortex vaults, we've discovered this gem from Dr. Phil.
Phil took 3 times to try to record this for you.
All right. Now can I say it?
Yes.
Let's give it a listen.
Hey guys, Dr. Phil here with just a few thoughts on a recent episode you guys have Traveling the Vortex. I don't know how I lost this particular bit of feedback, but there was comment about colorization of episodes when you guys were talking about Planet of the Daleks. Now, every Doctor Who story that aired from Spearhead in Space onwards were broadcast in color. Okay? The Doctor Who restoration team, especially I think I talked about this with Mark Ayers when I interviewed him a while back, is that their job is to present Doctor Who in the way that it originally aired, and often in a better state, because a lot of the picture and audio restoration puts it into a state that's significantly superior to how it originally aired on TVs that were far more primitive than we have today. So the idea that, yes, we should leave Troughton and Hartnell-era Doctor Who stories in black and white. There's been a big work to restore the episodes of Ambassadors of Death, whose episodes only survive in black and white, to colorize those. And they have, of course, the revolutionary process that they used on Planet of the Daleks, that they've been spending a lot of money and time restoring those. So the idea that they're going to be colorizing stories that were originally in black and white is not the case. It's just that those are the only copies that survived in the archive after the purge in the 1970s. So I would just suggest that, I understand it's like, okay, these are the versions of the episodes we have now, but that they're trying to get them to a state of how they were originally represented on television when they aired in the 1970s. The difference is, and I know that Mark Ayers has pointed this out, that a lot of times when you have, say, new special effects and special editions of episodes, that you always get the original version. Now, that's not the case originally, because The Five Doctors was I believe, the first that came out, and it only came out in its special edition version until both versions came out many years later in a much, much superior package anyway. And so, I mean, looking at stories like The Ark in Space that the restoration team is considering to restore, because that was also a very early on, it didn't have making of documentary and that sort of thing. I'm hopeful, because that's one of my favorite stories of the Baker era, or Baker the First, and really, really love the score to that, really love just everything about it, even the bubble wrap. I love the bubble wrap in it. But it's... I think it's important to know that, while we might be hoping for animated Doctor Who for some of the lost episodes, especially for Part 4 of The 10th Planet, that hopefully, the people involved, of course, are as passionately fans as many of us that are commentating on them, and hopefully we have faith in them that they're going to, of course, try to give us the best thing that they can that's closest to what we want as fans of our Doctor Who DVD releases. So, while Vengeance on Varos is about to get a new release, and finally I think the Spearhead re-release is about to make it to U.S. shores, far too late in my humble opinion, but that's a 2 Entertain problem and not a Doctor Who restoration team problem. So, anyway, great show as always, gentlemen. Always a joy, and looking forward to what you guys have to say about City of Death, one of my all-time favorite musical episodes. But anyway, take care, guys. All the best. Bye-bye.
All right.
Apparently, I missed the singing in City of Death.
There was singing?
It threw me for a second because he said musical episodes. And I thought, there was no singing in this episode. And now I understand he meant musically.
Oh, right. Musically. Yes.
Phil, I hope we didn't confuse you a couple weeks ago. We were talking about colorization. We understand that they're not colorizing the ones that were originally in black and white, that they are merely colorizing, the last one available now, or the one that needs to be colorized, which is Ambassadors. We do understand they're colorizing that. And I think we're all on board and fine with that. I think I was just...
We were postulating on the fact of...
what it would be like, or if they could.
Get maybe some people who like Classic Who, but not Hartnell and Troughton.
Right.
Maybe it would be an easier gateway if they did colorize them.
And I came down on the side that I didn't think it needed to be done, and Sean kind of liked the idea, and I think Keith was kind of in the middle.
I was fine as long as they offered the black and white version.
Right. That's the
as
key.
long as they didn't George Lucas it.
Right.
I'm good with it.
If you were to colorize a William Hartnell and say, here it is, and this is the only way you could get it now, I would be just as understandably upset as you or anybody else for that matter, because these things ought to be preserved in their original format. Absolutely, 100%. Just like if they started all of a sudden releasing them in this weird anamorphic widescreen, it just wouldn't look right.
Right.
But if you gave me a DVD that had both, and you went through the trouble to colorize it, I'd repurchase it. Just to have the
to see how you did it,
or Blu-ray. That's one of those things. And
that's just it. There's obviously a whole new delivery service for video, and that's Blu-ray, and 2 Entertain has not gone that avenue yet.
I think they'll skip
Blu-ray. Once everything's out on DVD, they have that option to go the Blu-ray route and start over again and add even more stuff, and add even more documentaries, and add even more special stuff that goes on. One of the things could be colorization, and I suppose if I get to see it both ways, then I would be okay with it.
Obviously, and this is a question that 2 Entertain would be more geared to answer, but just from a speculative purpose, just throwing out there.
Speculative, yes.
Would you want to, if they came out and said, we're doing Doctor Who Blu-rays, okay, here they are, would you want them to continue in the story arc format that we've gotten kind of accustomed to with classics, or would you kind of like to see a season? Here's season 1, season 2.
I think they could fit so much on a Blu-ray disc.
I think they could too. I think the problem that I run into is, if you do Blu-ray seasonal, I don't want them to sacrifice a lot of the additional content that we've gotten from 2 Entertain.
Right.
The nice thing about everybody keeps saying, well, these weren't made in high definition, so if you put them on Blu-ray, there's no reason to put them on Blu-ray. People don't understand that Blu-ray isn't just high definition.
Yeah.
There's more room for information on a disc. And so when you put it on there, obviously it's going to upconvert somewhat to a better definition. But that's not the point of putting them on Blu-ray. The point of putting them on Blu-ray is you can put more on there. So that lends to the multi-season discs as opposed to the one story at a time. On the flip side of that is I think if they do it right and they package it in with such a way that you get a few discs and you get enough to get all of the stuff that they've once released on Blu-ray or a DVD and maybe even more, then I'm fine with that. But if I'm going to have to sacrifice some of the extra materials that I got on DVD, because I think the more I'm one of those people that buy discs and I love the extras. I don't always get into them or even watch everything on them, but I love having them there and available to me.
Yeah.
And
take note, George Lucas.
If I have to,
we're special edition people.
If I have to sacrifice the extras that come out, in fact, somebody apprised me to the fact that there was another documentary on the VHS edition of Silver Nemesis that was not included on the DVDs. And that actually, when I found that out, I was upset by that. Because I think if it's there, put it with it and release it as part of the package. But again, I love the idea of seasonal Blu-ray. So you've got all of Baker's, 16th season, all of his 17th season, all of it together. I love that idea.
Or at the very least, doing it in such a way where, because obviously not every time was a season finale the end of a specific Doctor. We had a lot of instances from
right.
Where it kind of happened in the middle of the road.
Exactly.
Or,
Hartnell to Troughton would be one, and
Davison to Colin Baker.
Exactly.
I mean, just so if you did it in such a way that we're going to do the William Hartnell years, volumes 1 through 5, and 5 ended with.
Oh yeah, and I'd be fine with that as well.
Okay,
yeah,
I don't care how that's put together.
As long as I don't have to sacrifice the extras. Absolutely.
I knowing what they've done with the Blu-rays. I mean, 2 Entertain and BBC work together for new series Blu-rays. It's the same number of discs for season 6 as the DVD. There's no extra bonus features. It's just in high definition. So I wonder if they don't know quite how to utilize.
No. Here's the thing. Well, I see what you're saying, but here's the thing I see with the Blu-rays, because they're releasing the high definition versions, that takes up more information anyway.
Okay,
that's why you're going to have to put more discs in there. But if you're releasing the old episodes and you're just merely upconverting them so that they don't look so fuzzy or pixelized on a 720 or a 1080p, then you don't have to use up all that room for the high def.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like I said, and if you wanted to spend the money and put these episodes in color on Blu-ray as part of the additional packaging, I'd be all right with that.
It'd be tempting.
Not that I have any desire. Don't go back and I don't want to see Casablanca in color. I'll say it again.
Yeah.
I'm not promoting colorizing the black and white just for the sake of doing it.
And I think we discussed ad nauseum that last time we talked about it. So,
Well, who's special?
Who's next?
Up next, Holly Mack. And I'll read it. She says, "Hey guys, City of Death." Oh wait, I'm sorry. I went out of order.
Chrissy's next.
We'll
get to you, Holly. Hang tight.
Hold on, Holly. Chrissy, because
there's a reason for our
she has other stuff to talk about besides City of Death.
Keeper of the feedback almost goofed up.
I almost goofed up.
And this is you, Sean.
This one is me. Okay. Chrissy writes, "Dear Vortex boys, it's been a couple of weeks. Life's been hectic, so I have a few things to cover in my feedback. First, on your book reviews. I've read a few of the New Who tie-in novels, and most of them really aren't that great. There are probably 2 that I really, really enjoyed. Autonomy by Daniel Blythe and Wooden Heart by Martin Day. The rest weren't exactly bad. They were just meh. Although I have to agree with Keith on his review of Story of Martha. When I finished that one, I kept wondering, where's the rest of it? It really only felt like half a story. I haven't read any of the 8th Doctor adventures yet, but they're on my reading list. However, my reading list is very long. I am still working my way through Story of Martha.
How far are you now? I know last time I talked to you, she just teamed up with Griffin.
I just finished the story she tells in Japan. The one story that she tells there about the generation ship and the clones or whatever they are. The artificials. The artificials. The almost people. Oh my God, this book sucks. I'm sorry. It started off with such promise, and I really am like, the only reason I'm continuing I would have dropped this book by now, quite honestly. If it was just me trying to read it for the sake of reading it, I'd have dropped it a long time ago. The only reason is because I want to be able to come on the podcast and say, Keith's right about something.
And I'm right about many things.
I hope you appreciate the efforts that I'm going through to back you up on this one. Man, it's a struggle. Sorry, Chrissy. Okay.
I don't know if I'll be keeping it after you finish.
Yeah. I mentioned this on my blog, but I wanted to thank Keith for recommending Firefly to me, because that's one of the coolest shows ever. You know how people ask, if you had a TARDIS, where would you go? I've changed my answer slightly. First, I'd go back and save missing Doctor Who episodes. Second, I'd go back and weasel my way onto the Fox and TV Executive Committee and become the deciding vote of whether or not to cancel Firefly. And I would vote to keep it on TV. And I would make them air it in order and give Joss Whedon as many seasons as he needed to tell a story. You clearly see where my priorities lie.
Amen.
Amen, Reverend. But Keith, I have to correct you on something. If you're touting the virtues of Lost by saying it's better than Jersey Shore, that doesn't really inspire much confidence. Amen, Reverend.
Fair enough. I would still put it up against CSI or Law and Order. A lot of people like those shows and
You're still
say they're really good.
And oranges.
It's
No, we're not going there.
TV
We're not
is
going
apples
there.
and oranges.
We're not going
No
there.
loss this week.
No loss this week. No loss this week. No loss this week. On the stories you reviewed last week, Phantasmagoria is not good at all. It's sad that the Fifth Doctor and Turlough get such a poor story to start off the Big Finish line. Looking back, the reason it doesn't pass the smell test now is that we have more Big Finish to compare it to. Also, at the time it came out, people were probably thrilled just to have new Doctor Who stories with the original actors. Think about it, 1999. It was 3 years after the TV movie that didn't produce a revived series. That was probably a disappointment to a lot of fans, and myself included. But then Big Finish comes in to do their series, and the fans were probably very excited, and they didn't care that some of the stories weren't that great. But the good news is that Big Finish got better as time went on. Amen, Reverend.
I would agree.
The Keys of Marinus. I haven't watched this in a while, but I do remember liking it when I watched it. It certainly has a key to time feel to it, probably where they got the idea. I don't have much else to say about it, though. Okay, now here's the review that's going to make me some enemies. Based on her Twitter comments on Friday Night Who. Here we go. City of Death. Don't get me wrong, I liked this one well enough. But I don't understand why it's any better than, say, The Mark of the Rani, or even The Visitation. The first two episodes are good, but then they start talking, and techno-babbling, and Romana gets left behind to babysit Dugan, and Leonardo da Vinci doesn't show up, and episode 3 drags and drags and drags, and the Countess is annoying and useless, and I'm glad that she dies. Now, there were parts...
Did she call her the Countless?
The Countess.
Okay, because I thought you said Countless.
I don't think even Chrissy's that artless. Now, there were parts that I liked. The first episode was pretty good. Didn't even mind the running through Paris bits. And the time jumping was cool. The TARDIS as a piece of art joke was quality, even more so that John Cleese delivers it. But when plot exposition gets going, there's just so much of it, and it's hard to keep track of. I sympathize with poor Dugan, who didn't have a clue what was going on up until the end. And even at the end, I had to have someone to explain to me what just happened. I think what has me a little gripey about City of Death is that it's everybody's absolute favorite, and it's so wonderful, and it cures cancer, and it creates world peace, and it rides on a lovely pink unicorn through fields of daisies and rainbows, and Romana looks cute in her Skullgirl outfit, and they're in Paris, and the world is so lovely. But I just didn't get that feel from it. Maybe if I didn't have these incredibly high expectations, I would have enjoyed it more. But I did have those expectations, and it didn't live up to them. Sorry, boys, I know you like it, but I'm going to have to diverge from you on this one. It's a good enough story, probably not as good as it's been hyped up to be. And now that I think of it, most of that hype could be the nostalgia talking. And who am I to argue with someone's childhood memories? With all that said, I'm going to go hide in my bunker and wait for the internet missiles to be launched in my direction. Happy Father's Day, y'all. Chrissy.
Not to get into our review too much, but I would agree. It doesn't live up to the hype. But now, even 2 days out from the story, looking back on it, you remember the great bits more than the bad bits.
Yeah. Let's
we'll
get
to that
Hollies and we'll talk about that, because I think a lot of the things I'm going to say about the
Well, let's go to Hollies now.
Story. Oh, okay, absolutely. I will do that. I didn't realize I was reading, but I will do it.
Thank you, Chrissy.
Hang on
Thanks,
a second.
thanks for writing in, Chrissy, and I'm glad, so glad you love Firefly.
Very, yeah.
I saw that she watched Dr. Horrible now. She has a huge man crush on Nathan Fillion, like most of us.
Wait. Holly has a man crush?
Chrissy has a man crush.
Chrissy has a man crush. Or has a crush on Nathan Fillion.
It made sense in my head
Chrissy
when he said it, too.
That's because we have man crushes on him.
I have a huge man crush on Nathan Fillion.
And now she's watching
I'm
Castle.
glad you clarified, because...
now she's watching Castle.
Which Joss Whedon did not do.
Did not do.
But it's still a fantastic show.
Well, it's not as good as Firefly, but...
Well, Firefly's just... Oh,
it's
okay.
The anomaly.
I got to segue one quick second here. So, Prometheus comes out, and everybody has been making these comments about the ship, because the Prometheus ship in the movie kind of sort of looks like the big grown-up version of Serenity in Firefly. I mean, it's got the same kind of engine configuration and all that stuff. Bigger, better, but it's there. So then, somebody made the comment that the operative in the movie Serenity makes the comment, "We're building better worlds," which is the catchphrase of the Weyland-Yutani Corporation from the Alien movies and Prometheus.
Oh.
And I thought, well, that's kind of weird. Somebody online, I'll have to go back and find the photo now. Somebody online had found a still, and it's posted, it's a screenshot of a computer screen from Serenity, the pilot episode of Firefly, not the Serenity movie.
Right.
From the pilot episode. And there's a Weyland-Yutani logo at the top of the screen.
Ooh.
And so now there's all this, that maybe Firefly is set in the same universe as Alien.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well played, Joss.
Aliens would make quick work of Reavers.
Very cool.
Yes, they would. But I had to throw that out there because I got a little, as a Stephen King fan, anytime you can cross two universes and make it make sense, I get all kinds of chills and giddy. And that one was kind of a big one. I don't even care that they would be set in the same universe. I don't think it's a good fit. But just the fact that it could be was like, ooh. Okay, cool. I'll shut up now. Go ahead.
Hi, Holly. Next bit of feedback comes from Holly. Hi, guys. City of Death. Knowing that it was written by Douglas Adams makes me enjoy this episode a lot. The Doctor and Romana, too, take a trip to Paris. Is it just my imagination, or did the Jaggeroth ship in the beginning of the story look like a cross between an Imperial interrogation droid from Star Wars and an Imperial probe droid from Empire Strikes Back? Yeah, it did a little bit.
Well, let's see. This was 1979?
Whoop. Yep.
Empire would have been 80, though. The time loop in the restaurant was very interesting. Love that the Doctor is trying to expose Romana 2 to more human culture to get her to understand why he loves Earth like he does. A little surprised that none of the others in the cafe didn't leave in a rush when they saw two people coming in with their hands raised and a man with a gun following behind them. Must be a pretty common occurrence in this neck of the woods. Kind of interesting that some of the music in this story kind of reminds me of some episodes of the Pink Panther. I think the same... In fact, I was watching it again today, and I was like, oh, wow, this is very, like... Blake Edwards mystery Pink Panther-ish type stuff.
I think it's the genius of the fact that it's an art heist.
Yeah,
that's the kind of feel.
But
that
to
they
clarify,
went with.
the movies, not the animated TV show.
No, not the animated.
The animated TV
She
show.
said episodes of Pink Panther. I go to the animated TV show.
Well,
Yeah,
it's the
Pink
same
Panther all has
music.
the same theme.
It's pretty much the same music.
Okay.
Week after week after week.
No, every week. But maybe they decided to do that because of John Cleese's cameo in the story. The way Carlos reveals his... let me start that over. The way Carlos reveals his true self as the Jaggeroth by tugging at its forehead is a lot like the Slovene reveal themselves. I wonder if this wasn't a nod from the Russell T. Davis, wasn't a nod from Russell T. Davis to this story. Maybe so. Plus, I really don't want to get on Hammond's bad side at all.
Herman,
yeah, excuse me. He just screams evil henchman Butler. Kind of felt sorry for what happened to the scientist, but then again, that's the dangers of the job when working for a madman. Had to giggle that the doctor helped Shakespeare write some of his sonnets. I think Duggan needs either to ask for a pay raise, request for a transfer, or be recruited into either unit or Torchwood after this case. What he saw didn't seem to faze him much at all, even though he did call himself mad at one point. I think you have to be just a touch mad to be part of Unit or Torchwood to take in what you're dealing with on a daily basis. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts on this episode. Holly from Wisconsin. Very good.
Always great
Holly.
to hear from you, Holly.
Yes.
And we will get to that after one last bit of feedback. From...
You found more?
This is Kurt.
Oh, hi, Kurt.
We know this is coming.
Hey, Vortex guys. I've really been enjoying the podcast, and I was glad to be able to join in on Friday Night Who for City of Death, which is probably my favorite classic story.
We were thrilled to have you. Hope you had fun.
It was great to have you. I first saw City of Death on KCPT back in mid-1980s and recorded the omnibus version a few years later off the St. Louis PBS affiliate. I've rewatched it at least 20 times since then. What do I love about City of Death? Let me count the ways. He doesn't do that, but he numbers out the reasons. So I added that. 1. Tom Baker is at his irrepressible best, full of snappy dialogue and barging headlong into dangerous situations, never letting the bad guys see him sweat. 2. Lalla Ward, my favorite Romana, showing off her time lady skills. 3. A complex plot with several clever concepts. The villain splintered through time, forced to shape all of history to make sure that he gets his most distant version. Make sure that his most distant version would have adequate technology to go back in time and prevent the accident that got him into the mess. The brilliant plot to collect multiple copies of masterpieces throughout history, and then steal the original so you can sell all the quote-unquote duplicates. There are entire seasons of Who that don't have one concept as original and clever as those 2 bits. Julian Glover as Sarclone Tancredi Sarkoff. He's one of the finest guest actors in the history of the show, and it's clear that Tom Baker loves to play off of him. Their scenes cackle with electricity. His outfit looks dated, but this was 1979. It was chic to look like Hugh Hefner in a Saturday Night Fever suit. I dug the suit.
What was it that Chrissy said during Friday Night Who about the suit?
I said I dug it, and she said, yeah, if you want to be in Saturday Night Fever.
Saturday Night Fever. I liked this. I wish I had enough class to be able to pull off dressing like that. I really do.
5, Catherine...
No one has that much class pulling that off in this day. The 70s, yes. Now, no.
Oh, but the ascot, the big screen scarf, he rocked it. He made that outfit work.
5, Catherine Schell as the Countess. I've adored her since she joined the second season of Space 1999 as the alien Maya. Maya, I'm assuming. I haven't watched it. What can I say? Beautiful, exotic, alien woman can have a powerful influence on a 13-year-old boy.
Amen, Reverend.
6, Duggan, who always knocks out the wrong people at the wrong time until he accidentally gets it right. 7, Dr. Korinsky, played with that "what country is he from again" accent by David Graham. Terrific comic relief. 8, and of course, the museum patrons. What do I not love about City of Death? Well, it had outrageous alien masks, styrofoam sets, and dated costumes against the show, I couldn't be a Doctor Who fan. The main problem with this episode is all the running through Paris. I suppose if we had to have running through Paris... If we had to have running through, Paris is an upgrade over corridors. That's enough of my rambling. On with your podcast, Kirk. He brings up a lot of good points.
As always, Kirk, thank you very much for writing in, because we so enjoy hearing from people in general.
This was actually Kirk's first time writing in.
It is Kirk's first time writing in. And we've mentioned before that we know Kirk through Kansas City Planet Comic-Con. Yep. And we're looking forward to next year's. So.
Yes.
All right, Keith, well, let's set it up. Get us into City of Death.
The City of Death.
Oh, I just said that.
I know. It throws me off if I don't say it. The Doctor and Romana's plan for a peaceful holiday in Paris soon goes wrong. Cracks are beginning to appear in the fabric of time, indicating that dangerous time experiments are underway. Even the well-beaten path to the... I'm going to screw this up. Louvre?
The Louvre.
The Louvre. It throws me off to see it written. The V and the R.
The Louvre.
The Louvre. To the Louvre leads the Doctor deeper into mystery, much of which revolves around Count Scaroloni, Julian Gover, a sinister figure who has 6 Mona Lisa paintings stashed in his cellar. And they're all originals.
Well, that's,
was that it?
What a terrible... Really? That's the
synopsis.
You picked that up. It gives away one of the biggest...
Reveals
of the whole story.
But how do you set it up other than that?
Oh, my gosh.
Dun, dun, dun.
Thanks for that dun, 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 because it was a good one.
This is course.
I'm very disappointed with that. And they're all original. Well, that's like one of the big reveals of the episode.
Not Lord. That they're there, but that they're all originals.
Yes.
That's
the... Oh.
Well, how many times has a synopsis failed us?
This one was one of the ones under Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers.
Shame on you, Warner Brothers.
City of Death. Chrissy, you just don't know what you're talking about. No.
She has some valid points.
She does.
Chrissy has some very valid points.
It's a very convoluted plot.
That's what happens is, there are issues with it. There are problems with City of Death. I won't deny that one bit. But overall, the concepts are so original. Even the design of the Jaggeroth are original. The moments in this are so original. There's
there's no anthropomorphized monster here.
It has best comedic timing, and it has the comedy in it is well balanced with the drama, as we were watching in the documentary just before the show. It's such a great story and such a great concept that I often overlook the little things that are a little bit. Sometimes I do get a little wordy. Sometimes the third episode is a little lengthy at times. It doesn't seem like a lot's going on at that point. But just overall, it's such a great story, and it's memorable to me because this
charming.
Truly, I have probably seen this story more than any Doctor Who.
Really?
Out there, yes. Even the new series. I have seen this story more. Today I watched it again, and this is probably I'd say this. I'm at my 8th or 9th viewing of this. I mean, I'm creeping up on 10 viewings of this of all 4 episodes. I love this story. I have so much fun with it. I don't think it other than the 3rd episode dragging a little bit. I think it paces well. It's one of those ones. Sometimes I'll watch Doctor Who in chunks. Just like it was meant to be. Because sometimes if you try to sit down, even on a 4-story arc, sometimes by that 3rd one, you're like, oh, God, okay, let's just get through this. Let's get to the better parts. Let's get it over with.
I feel that sometimes Friday Night Who.
I take Doctor Who in chunks quite frequently. Classic Doctor Who. This is one that I will sit down and watch beginning to end every time because I love it so much, and I hate getting interrupted in it. Because if there's a time that I get halfway through it and then I have to take the kids somewhere or do something, then it's so frustrating. But I love this story, and it was wonderful that it was on Netflix because before I owned it, it was That's where I watched it several times and it's still on there. On Netflix,
you watched it just because Doctor Who's on Netflix.
Well,
watch.
Yes, and that was early on.
City Death. Okay.
When I first started getting Netflix streaming, that's what I did. Oh, hey, Doctor Who.
I didn't realize it was still on Netflix.
It is. Yep, it is. In fact, when Sean tweeted that out the other day, or posted it the
Facebook,
other day.
Yeah,
I was like, I better go check, make sure that really is still on there, so that people don't go, hey, wait, I can't watch this alone.
I would agree. It's a very enjoyable story. It does have its problems, but it's such a charming story, and Tom Baker is at his finest, I think. Of all the Tom Baker I've seen, this is
one of his finest, yeah.
And in a way, it feels Stephen Moffat was in the documentary we watched on this, and it feels like he pulled a lot from Douglas Adams' writing for his Doctor when he writes for him.
Well,
for 11.
I think Moffat was touching on it in the documentary, and the fact that you have to balance the comedy with the drama.
Yeah, and he does that so well.
It has to see. Douglas Adams actually said the comedy can't undermine the story,
but it should
underpin it. And that hits the nail on the head right there. And Moffat was emphasizing that, and I think that's how Moffat's writing is in the new series.
Yeah,
is that the comedy underpins the story.
In all of his stories, even Eccleston and Tennant, you see that underpinning. And that's what makes this... The underpinning is what makes this story. There is so many good moments in it that you remember, and a couple days later, you forget the bad parts.
Yeah.
You forget okay, we're going to spend 5 minutes running through Paris showing off we're actually on location.
Here's the thing, though. Let's talk about this for just a minute. This is the first time in Doctor Who's production history that they've gone out of country.
Is it?
Ever.
Wow.
This was their first real location shoot. And BBC didn't want to do it. BBC was like, can't you find somewhere close to home to shoot this? And they'd done the research and decided that they could afford Paris. And the reply that they wrote back was that, well, quite honestly, gravel quarries and tunnels can only be used so many times, and they've been used so many times. And they're right. What makes this story work, though, with the location shooting, even though, yes, there is scenes of them running down the streets ad nauseum, but what works for it is that the story... we're stealing the Mona Lisa. You have to be in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unlike
absolutely.
Amsterdam, which could have been any city, anywhere. Yeah. Unlike Seville, which could have been any city, anywhere. All of the experiences we've had so far with location shooting have been, hey, let's go somewhere. Yeah. Okay, yeah. And we'll shoot there. This one at least made a cohesive reason for them to be there. And that I appreciate. That to me glosses over all of the running about. Instead of running down corridors, we're running down the Champs-Élysées.
They almost could have cut this down to 3 episodes if they cut out all the running in Paris streets.
Here's the thing is, I'll default to what Kirk said. It's beats running through corridors, the same corridors over and over again.
I agree with that statement.
If you watch this, they don't run, with the exception of running up and from the Louvre a few times, they really picked a lot of different locations. There's a lot of different street shots. There's that one shot where they're running down the middle of the street in front of the Arc de
Triomphe.
That's the one, Arc de Triomphe. They're running down the middle of the street. I never could figure that one out. But the shots are clearly different shots of background. And there is a lot of running, but I don't have a problem with that. Because really, there's a lot of running, but it's like, they're only running for a minute or so. I mean, it's not even a minute. I mean, they're running and it's with purpose. They're going between the Louvre, they're going between the cafe, they're going between the chateau. I mean, it makes sense. They've got to get from here to there. And the one time when he's trying to hail the cab, and he makes a comment about, doesn't anybody care about saving the universe? I mean, it was fantastic stuff. I mean, just showing the traffic, and it was different. And so I didn't have a problem. Didn't feel like there was a lot of running through Paris because it seemed to work. And as Sean said, it's because we're in Paris, because it fits the story, and because I thought it was done in manageable doses. There's a lot of it throughout the entire story. It is too.
I felt that was the purpose of it.
It's cleverly done It's cleverly showing off that we're there by making it relevant to what's
anytime
happening.
we get to the point where it's like, okay, enough of the travel log. That was where the scene ended, and we would wind up where we needed to be. Right. Anytime I got to that point where I felt like I'd had enough of running through Paris, I don't mind. You put this bouncy little music behind them, and the Doctor and Romana run somewhere. Okay, where are we going? I'm just, I'm there with you.
Right.
Whether it's, this or that. And then just when it got to the point where it was like, are we still, okay, oh, and there we are. We're at the Louvre. Okay. I mean, it really was just the right amount. Now, yeah, there's a lot of it in the episode, but each of the chunks I felt was small enough that it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
The other thing I kind of had an issue with was the scientist. And the Doctor almost gives him his what for enough.
He was a bit of a caricature.
He was very caricature. He was a generic caricature. He couldn't even nail down wherever he was from.
He had a bit of a German/Russian accent.
/Chinese.
What?
There were times where it almost sounded like he was a little Chinese.
You almost got the impression that he was going
over.
German until he got the page of the script that said, "My name is Nikolai," and he went, "Oh." Russian! Okay, here we go.
It just felt too over the top.
I didn't think he slipped out of the Germanic languages. But
as the bit you found so hilarious of his death.
His go-go, 60s go-go dancer.
Yes. But the idea, what he's dealing with and working with, I found fascinating. And that the Count is getting him to work on this time travel science, but doesn't have the stabilizer that he needs.
The Doctor says...
he reverses the polarity in order to put the chicken back in the egg.
I would say Scaroff's trying to invent a time machine, and the scientist thinks he's breeding chickens.
Yeah, he thinks he's saving the world. Okay, I don't know how this is going to save the world, but okay.
Your true masters are the Sephiroth. They need the chickens?
What?
Or the Jaggeroth. Jaggerfest. No, Jaggeroth.
Jaggeroth.
Not Jaggerfest. Jaggerfest is different.
Right. Jaggerfest. I kept thinking of Jaggerfest during Friday Night Who. Because I was like, this name sounds so familiar. I liked when they first explained what was happening with the Jaggeroth and the Count. With the Doctor, it was a bit confusing. And then when he explains it to Romana, it solidified it a bit more. I was like, I think this is what's happening. And then when he explains it, I'm like, oh, okay. That really is what's happening. So I can understand Chrissy's confusion because I don't think the first time they explain it, they don't do a very good job of it. They give you the ideas, but don't really say, this is what he's trying to do.
I would agree with that.
Until he explains it to Romana.
Yeah, but that's good storytelling.
I agree with that.
That's piecing it together and then explaining what's going on
in the fourth story. In the fourth episode.
Yeah, here's the what you do is if you drop little hints about what's going on and then you don't explain it, then you've really lost me.
They did a really good
job.
But
I thought they did a good job of building the mystery and making you suspect what they were doing. And the Doctor even clues in on the results of the explosion in the past before
that is so
we
cool.
get to it, and they really reveal it to us.
You didn't see that coming at all.
I didn't see that coming. That's like
even though they give us the hint.
That's like the asteroid for Astrid. Or not Astrid. Adric.
The asteroid for Adric.
Adric causes the extinction
of the
dinosaurs.
It wasn't an asteroid.
It was an asteroid.
Talking about what wiped out the dinosaurs, and then we're on a spaceship, and the two have never between, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, yes, they do.
Yeah. That's the kind of reveal this had for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm watching them out of order. It had that, and I appreciate that. It's such a cool idea.
What's the Davison one with Tegan and Nisa and the the plague ship, and they realize that the incident that they're
Terminus.
The point is actually the Big Bang that is being created in the it's that kind of thing.
Which all comes later.
Everything,
and I wonder how much of that is inspired from City of Death.
I think that,
or is that just a basis of
that type of big
travel.
reveal and concept, that idea of trying to make that big concept wrap around, probably comes from this story. I think, even though you can't give all the credit to Douglas Adams on this, I think that Douglas Adams is really good at coming up with those types of concepts. I think he's really good. And I think farming that from Fisher and taking the framework and rewriting this, I think that he lent a lot of his ideas to it.
I would be interesting to read the original script before Douglas touched it.
Yeah,
there's the documentary before you came. I was watching the documentary. What's the name of it? Springtime in Paris.
Yes.
Okay. That's on the DVD. And they actually go back and step through, and even though the original script doesn't exist anymore, they piece together the 4 episodes of as it would have been written in a very...
Okay, that's why I kept hearing the Vortex, or the main theme sound.
Yeah, and it was significantly different from the standpoint that instead of art heists... The art heists were there, the Mona Lisa elements were there, but they were also... The Countess was using the bracelet to cheat at gambling.
Huh.
And that was one of the other ways they were using to augment to
get money.
The funding.
Yeah.
And they, at one point, leave Paris and actually travel to Monte Carlo, where he owns a villa. And that's where the experiments are going on. And, the place in the city only had a little bit to do with it. And then we find more going on over here, and they have to piece everything together. So it's a lot that Douglas Adams pieced together. And listening to David Fisher talk...
Sounds like he condensed it a little bit.
Well, when he turned it in, BBC said, we can't do this. It's too big. We can't go to Paris, and we can't go to the Monte Carlo, and we can't even really fake the Monte Carlo. It's not going to look right.
Right, because they fake the interiors of the Louvre. They fake the chateau. Well, they don't fake it, but that's all set. That's all
set.
on the...
In fact, there's a fantastic bit from Julian Glover in the documentary when he says, so they went to Paris. I didn't go to Paris. I wasn't invited to Paris. They came back from Paris, and then I showed up at BBC and went, what do I have to do? So that, they went and shot what they needed to and came back for it. But yeah, everything else, if it wasn't actually filmed on the streets, was done that way. Mm-hmm. But when they said, David Fisher, I'm sorry to do this to you, but we have to rewrite you, and they had him read the script that Adams came up with over the weekend. And he says, I don't think I can put my name on it. It's so different from what I created. And I'm looking at it going, no, it isn't. All of the elements that you came up with in the original are in there. The fact that the spaceship's there, and the dive being fractured in time, and the Mona Lisa, that's all still very much intact. Adams expounded on it, got rid of some of the junk, and put in a few other witticisms and things that, made it flow a little bit better. He even had a bumbling, brooding detective following them around. Mm-hmm. And, so all of the stuff was there. And they later said that, as far as the actual paychecks went, he got the 75% paycheck, and he admitted, he says, I really think I only deserved 35, but they offered me 75. I wasn't going to complain about it. So, it's a great fun, and a full credit to Dr. Phil for throwing it out there that we should watch that beforehand, because it was very informative and a lot of fun to watch. It was a really nice documentary. But yeah, this is one of those that, in a way, feels very much like Douglas Adams doing Pirate Planet. That he's got all of these grandiose ideas. We've got time dams, and we've got this, and we've got this, we've got this, and we've got a planet that eats other planets. And in a way, City of Death kind of feels like it could balloon into that huge concept of one guy being splintered through time, who all of his incarnations
really,
are pushing the technological edge of humanity forward to this moment. That's really a big concept.
I could have touched more on the splintering aspect of it and seen him throughout time a bit more. I think that would have been interesting.
I wonder if that was an idea too that maybe got chopped up, because we only get the one scene where we see him going through the different phases of his face, which I thought was well done.
And we get the previous version during Da Vinci's time.
Yeah, but as Sean says, this could have completely ballooned up and been this really big. But I think that's another thing I like about this is I think they did a nice job of encapsulating this but not going. This story doesn't leave you like with a what just happened, with the exception of the end, and I'll talk about the end in a minute. But it doesn't leave you with a I don't understand what just happened. This is too broad, and they've pushed it down and made it too small and compressed, and so we lost a lot of elements. I thought they did a really nice job of encapsulating something that is a really big concept and really fitting it into the small glass case that it needed to be in. I think they did a really good job with that.
I would agree.
The only thing, the thing that this isn't even a big problem for me with this story, but one of the things that's always bothered me about it is the ship blows up. We run off. We don't see them get into the TARDIS. And the next scene is him coming back to the chateau. And I love this ending. I love the fact that the butler flips out and throws the thing, and the butler's the one that ends up killing the guy. And this chateau presumably explodes and catches on fire, because then they cut to the next scene, and it's the Dr. Romana and Duggan, and they're on top of the Eiffel Tower. And we have this. We're going to fill in what just happened. I mean, that it was one of those things where I felt like, well, we haven't shot on top of the Eiffel Tower yet, so we got to place this here.
Well, we opened with that.
We did open with that, but and I think that was the idea too of bookending starting there and ending there.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I have a problem with is, I would have rather have seen them standing in front of the chateau. They got back, and the chateau's like in rubble and smoke pouring off of it, and we're getting the disposition of, because I love the idea of the fact that the only Mona Lisa that survived was the one furthest from the wall, because all the rest were destroyed by the fire, and that one happens to still be one of the ones that say, this is a fake.
Yeah.
And that's what's hanging in the loo. And I absolutely love that concept. But it's them explaining what happened on top of the Eiffel Tower
instead of showing us.
So disjointed, and that's one of the things that's always bothered me about it.
I can see that.
But the big payoff is the fact that Duggan gets to go over, buy the postcard of the Mona Lisa, and then the Dr. Romana taking the fastest elevator in the universe to the bottom of the Eiffel Tower, running out to the yard, looking up and saying, "Bye-bye, Duggan!" Duggan, I love that. I love that scene. And when I go to Paris, I'm going to stand at the bottom of the Eiffel Tower, look up to the top, and say, "Bye-bye, Duggan!"
I wonder, okay, so the butler killed the one Splinter. What about all the other ones?
I don't know that it
There's
matters.
Still time.
I don't know that it matters
forward,
because...
But pushing forward for the guy that's...
dead.
Right. He's the end point. He's the one that had to build the machine. So once you've destroyed that
just
splinter,
the furthest forward.
Okay, but you're not going to have the technology in the rest of the splinters in order to build
the
device.
Or did they all die when he passed?
That's kind of
all of the previous.
That's what
splinters.
That's what I don't feel like they explained.
Okay, but here's
I'll give you that.
Okay, I agree with you there. However, either way, it doesn't matter. If all the splinters died, fantastic, problem solved. If all the splinters didn't die, we know that the very end one on the line that was working on the technology, because everybody had to push technology forward just enough. They could only go so far. And the one that ended up in the present day... But we also don't know
how long Jagaroth lives.
The only one in the present day that could do anything... Well, there was my other problem with this, is I love the concept of the splintered self and living at different points in time.
Yeah.
But you really don't get an idea of I mean, they're obviously not the same Jareth. They're not the same...
Scarlione.
Thank you. They're not all the same guy.
Yeah.
They're pieces of this one guy living through time. So do those pieces die at some point?
Yeah.
You know, that's what's not clear.
Yeah.
But back to the idea of when you stop the chain, there's nobody in the future, there's no splintered self that could push the technology far enough to...
You're not going to get a steampunk-powered...
Exactly. Time machine that's going to replace what this splinter had to do. So it doesn't matter.
I know
These
it
guys
doesn't
are
matter,
pretty much...
but
even
it's
if
still...
the splinters are still there, They're just trapped in time. You have resolved the story, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The story is still resolved. Despite
You've resolved the story.
You may want to know what happened to them.
I still want to know.
But it doesn't harm the story in any way.
Oh, no, I agree. It doesn't harm the story. It just leaves me curious.
I'm curious about how the Doctor and Romana got down the tower so fast. They didn't explain that, but it didn't destroy anything for me.
Of all the things I mentioned earlier, this is Tom Baker at his best. Of the way you guys have talked about Tom Baker, I've mentioned before that I haven't been that impressed. This is the story that I can see you guys are referencing. Because there's so many great Tom Baker mannerisms.
Here's the interesting thing about this one.
The only thing that was missing was, would you like a jelly baby?
In the whole time that Romana, and the Doctor, Lalla Ward, and Tom Baker were working together, there's a series of times where you can tell when they were at their best in their relationship and at the worst in their relationship. Well, and when Tom Baker is on his game and is doing a bang-up job like he does in this one, you can tell they must be getting along. And then when you have ones where he's just not, he's kind of seems to be dialing it in and he's phoning it in and like it's not quite as good. Yeah. You can tell that the relationship was probably kind of, well, even the one that introduces Adric in the first E-Space story, I can't remember which one that one was. The Doctor really just, you can tell that he and Lalla Ward were probably not getting along at the time because he's not an enjoyable character. And so I'm glad that this one is one of the ones that paints the Fourth Doctor in the way I love the Fourth Doctor.
Yeah. Oh, and that's a lot of Tom Baker getting tired of playing the Doctor.
Well, I don't know that Tom ever got tired of playing the Doctor. I don't think that's the
really after 8 years.
I don't think that's the right way to say it because he has never said he got tired of playing the Doctor. He just knew it was time.
It was time to
step
move on.
aside.
Move on.
And I'm sure there were times that he wasn't enjoying it as much.
Yeah.
But then again, he'd come back in the next week to shoot, and he would be. So I don't think Tom Baker has never said that he got tired of playing the Doctor. He just knew that there was a time to leave. In fact, as he was about to leave, he did a David Tennant where he felt kind of remorseful for deciding to go.
But I did love Romana in this story.
The
fact that they get down in that cellar and they escape, and then she's just doing her own thing. And
that is some of the greatest stuff. And this is where I'll take a little issue with Chrissy, because Chrissy was very down on Romana on Friday Night Who, going, well, she's not doing anything. She's left to babysit Dugan, and that's, or Duggan.
She's a strong enough character. She can babysit somebody who doesn't know what's going on.
But that's just it. It wasn't that he abandoned her. It was that he could trust her to do it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's because he and Duggan are having this discussion about this, that, and the other thing. And she's back and forth from the lab to the cell and just carrying various bits and pieces of equipment. And then she comes out and goes, you remember how I told you the wall was shorter? It is.
Yeah.
And we don't get any explanation for what she was doing with that.
Right,
just
and
moving
then we
stuff.
go in there and you see a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
I assume she melted it away with whatever she brought in.
Oh, and I love the fact that the Doctor says, we're going to have to bring in some heavy equipment to get to this wall. And Duggan says, no, we don't. He backs up and runs and just smashes through the wall.
I said this on Friday.
That's when it's most painfully obvious that it's styrofoam.
Yeah, but
it didn't look like styrofoam. It looked like polystyrene.
It had that very much.
It had a
sound effect added here.
It had a heavier substance to it though than styrofoam. Styrofoam would have just exploded and gone everywhere. This had that kind of.
No, it was just well packed.
That
fake wall.
No, it fell in.
You could totally see the outline of where this is where the hole's going to be.
I would agree with that.
As soon as he hit it,
fell more like brick than it did.
It was fit together in such a way that he went, and even he was surprised. I should have blown right through this.
I challenge you. Yeah, I challenge you to take and stack a bunch of styrofoam coolers together and run through.
But it's not stacked, though.
Stack them and wedge them into a doorway. Stack them and wedge them into a doorway. They're going to fall in different. This is polystyrene. I will give you that, but it is not styrofoam.
I would agree. I can see them bend.
It does.
I can see the individual bricks bend,
and it falls in. It doesn't explode into millions of of pieces flying across the room.
Regardless, it's obvious it wasn't brick.
Whatever it was.
But we've never argued quality because we know that classic Doctor Who is not the biggest on production.
For Exhibit A, Marca! I said this on Friday Night Who. Duggan is my favorite non-companion since Scorby.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
he's more effective than Scorby.
Yeah, I mean, really, he is. At least when Duggan hits people, they go down.
He's on the right side.
Scorby failed miserably every time he tried to knock somebody out. But every time Duggan did something, I would just start giggling maniacally because there is my boy. And his very blunt, straightforward approach. Romana does her thing. It picks the lock with what appeared to have been a Sonic. Did we?
It looked like a Sonic
something.
Yeah.
That she used to get into the thing. And
which we got another Sonic sighting.
He busts out the window. Reaches in and does this. Yeah. They're having a glass of wine. He smashes the bottle. He hits everybody.
Yeah.
He breaks through walls.
He's almost the opposite of the Doctor. He's on the right side, but does everything the Doctor wouldn't do.
He is the bull in the china shop. And I had to laugh when Julian Glover gets that great line about, I will destroy all of Paris unless you don't help me. And I'm thinking to myself, Duggan's taking care of that for you. There's not going to be much left by the time he solves this thing. He's just this force of nature. I loved that. I love Julian Glover. I'd forgotten. I didn't ever forget that he was in this, but every time he shows up, it's like, oh yeah, there he is, and because I forget. And this is one of the interesting things. You've watched this, you said like 10 times now or something.
Almost, yeah.
This is one of those stories that, for whatever reason, as a kid, I didn't like it. It was just, that one with the green guys on. And I would turn the channel because I don't know if it was just the mask or the creepy. I don't know what it was. Something about it was.
You almost need to be more adult to appreciate some of the
maybe
humor
that's what it was.
Too.
Maybe it was just over my head, but it was just, I remember, it wasn't that I didn't like it. It wasn't that it scared me. It just wasn't one that wowed me. And then somewhere years later, I caught it and really kind of began to appreciate how good this episode is. Now,
I think some of that's Douglas Adams.
Well,
when you're younger, if an 8-year-old watches Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the movie, they won't appreciate it as much as a 30-year-old would.
That's very true. That's very, very true. Now, I do agree with
there's so
Chrissy.
much subtlety.
I don't understand. It's not that I don't understand. I don't agree with the complete awestruck reverence that Whovians treat this episode with. It is a fantastic episode. I love it. It is among my favorite Bakers. It is not the number one Doctor Who classic of all time.
Oh, I would agree.
I don't understand why it pulled in so much viewership other than, hey, we're in Paris. I don't understand why, well, according to the documentary, there wasn't anything on ITV that week.
Well, and people wouldn't have known that Douglas wrote this.
Yeah, no one.
They would have known that
later.
he was script editor at the time. But then again, he wasn't really doing. I mean, the Hitchhiker stuff hadn't really.
That's
launched
the thing.
The way
At the time, it was who's Douglas Adams.
Right,
I mean, it doesn't matter.
He became the most successful, probably, Doctor Who script
I think the reverence probably came later
on the
once
script. So.
Douglas Adams became his own, and then people went back and rewatched it.
I don't think Hitchhikers even came out till I was in high school. The book, obviously the radio play and the
the book was after, because in fact he talks in the documentary again about that he became the script editor, and then all of a sudden he got the contract from BBC to do this, and so he was working Doctor Who during the days, and then he would go home and plinker with the book. Meanwhile, he had to write season 2 of Hitchhikers for radio, and so it was kind of all happening at the same time for him. But I just, even looking back, and this is one of many instances where my personal opinions widely vary from fandom at large, and we'll get to a couple of other ones later on that are not on the schedule yet, but we will.
So I'm right up there with one of the people that praise this. I think this is one of the best Doctor Who, classic Doctor Who.
I thoroughly enjoy it. I think it's fantastic.
This is only in second in line to Caves for me. Caves is the best, and this is second.
I think this is one of my favorite Tom Bakers. I don't know if it's my favorite of classic, but it's my favorite of Tom Baker.
Yeah, but see, I mean, this to me doesn't hold any more.
It's just so enjoyable to watch.
It's a fantastic episode that's enjoyable, but it doesn't hold any more sway for me than, say, Seeds of Doom or, Genesis of the Daleks. I mean, those are all good episodes. They're all,
Genesis.
up there. And we've picked apart some of the other ones with, things that they may not have done right, including Genesis. Mm-hmm. And this one has its share
we did the same thing, I think, with this one. There are issues that we have with it.
I think the big thing is people's memory goes back to the funny points that make you laugh.
That's just it. I like this one.
It's the our Mrs. Reynolds of Tom Baker's era.
I like this one because of the moments.
Yeah, it's the moments that stand out.
I love it because of the moments, and I love it because of the concepts. They're concepts that have never been used before. There's very few tropes in this.
Oh, I would agree.
Yeah. Well, and it's well constructed too, because even the cliffhangers. Episode 1 cliffhanger is the V pulling off of the face, and there's a green alien thing underneath that, and oh wow, look at that. And part 2 is. I just blanked on. When he walks through the door in Da Vinci's lab, and it's him again, but it's not. It's Captain Tancredi. Tancredi. I mean, these are good, powerful
they have good
reveals
in this all through
that are set up in this, and so. It's not even necessarily the cliffhanger, but just the reveal of when he opens the cabinet and there's the Mona Lisa.
And then he opens the cabinet.
And there's the Mona Lisa.
And he opens the cabinet.
Well, that was a cliffhanger,
too. That was 2. And there's the Mona Lisa.
That was 2.
Tancredi must have been...
Tancredi was 3, wasn't it?
Well,
Tancredi must have been 3.
Maybe he was 3. At any rate. We got to the point where we didn't even have to see...
No, the end of 3 was the what's his name dying in the beam.
No.
The scientist dying in the beam.
That one might have been a little weak.
Well, I thought it was okay because I mean it was I like that cliffhanger because of the gruesomeness of the
and then we got to re-see it,
the heaviness of the scene.
It did add a moment of took away from the levity,
right?
But the Mona Lisa bit was when he opens these cupboards, we didn't even have to see what was in the cupboards, just his reaction. The door opens and there's another door and there's another door, and all of a sudden we're like, really?
And he's studying them and this is real. This one's real. And this one's real. That's Leonardo's brushwork, and that's and the way the doctor sells that, you don't have to have some specialized art dealer with little magnifying glass, the little tiny eye magnifying glass,
because you believe that he was back there and saw him paint the Mona Lisa.
Looking at every little piece and detail for like 30 minutes and studying this thing, and you totally believe the credibility of the doctor when he says, this one's real, it's the brush strokes, it's the signature. And you go, yep, he would know.
Yeah. I want to see an episode where the doctor is with Da Vinci. That's the one.
The helicopter took a little longer to catch on.
How much spoilers was he putting out when he was back there? Luckily, Da Vinci wasn't there.
I love how he just pulls out another random item from his pockets. A felt tip pen. Yeah. Okay. And we just go to town and start marking all these things. And then he turns around and leaves him a note. Written backwards. Yeah. There's no explanation for it. There's no reason for him to do it other than, because it's cool and it's Da Vinci and he'll get it,
it's code. So if somebody else sees it,
right,
they're not going to figure it out.
But he doesn't, he
knows.
That's just it. He knows
Da Vinci would. Yeah.
He knows that Da Vinci knows how to do this.
I got the impression he's obviously done this with Da Vinci before.
Right.
He's left him a backwards note before.
Yeah. That was a wonderful little bit there. And that he leaves this note. Yeah, just ignore it and paint over them.
Yeah.
Which painters would do that anyway. Painters, hey, look, canvas. And they wouldn't care what it was all.
In those days, painters would paint over their own works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they either didn't like it or it didn't work the way they thought, and so they would paint another one over it.
I'd really like to see, since we've had Vincent and the Doctor, I'd really like to see a modern-day episode where we go back and we revisit Da Vinci, and Matt Smith gets to interact with where we actually have a guy playing Da Vinci this time, and they kind of have some stuff going on. And maybe just drop a line about what was up with the canvas. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that would be clear.
Yeah, I'd be jazzed.
They would absolutely have to do it so they're familiar with each other.
Yeah, I don't mind.
And that was somewhat of an issue. The episode of Shakespeare with Shakespeare. Apparently, Tom went back after.
Tom didn't.
Or 4 went back after 10 met Shakespeare at some point.
Right.
But
wibbly wobbly timey-wimey.
Trying to wrap my brain around that, having seen the Shakespeare episode with 10, it is a little rough.
I love that. I love the Countess. Just an amazingly, strikingly beautiful woman. First of all, I'll go out on a record and say that. I love her relationship with the Count. That it's flirty and naughty, and in some ways almost like an employee.
Yeah,
even though it's his wife.
Even though it's his wife. And then there are other things that are very, very intimate between the two of them that they share that come across very much as a husband and wife team. But there's this whole, so let me get this straight. You've been an alien during the whole marriage, and I never picked up on it?
Some things don't quite match up there.
Just... How good is the rubber mask?
That has to be good.
You would have thought by now.
Or they don't have an intimate relationship at all.
That seems weird. I don't know. I love Herman. I love the fact that Duggan picks up that chair and Baker stops it.
And then he laments over the vase. That was Ming Dynasty.
Priceless.
Which was reused in another Julian Glover story.
Yes, it was.
Which is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Yes.
When you were used in such a way that the Henry Jones Sr., after Indy smashes the vase, is lamenting over the fact that he smashed this priceless vase and then realizes it wasn't. It was a fake. Sorry.
Here's a fun bit of serendipity
Spoilers.
for you. We were talking ahead of time when we watched this for Friday Night Who that, well, this is Julian Glover. He was in Indiana Jones Last Crusade. He was in Empire Strikes Back several years.
I'm still a little sad that he's not Crispin's father.
So Mel and I last night watched Thunderball.
Nor is he Julian's father.
Nor is he Julian's father. We watched Thunderball in our continuing march to get all of the Bond movies in this year before Skyfall. And I asked her, so what do you think?
Julian. Danny, excuse me.
I know what you meant.
I went with this joke, and I threw it out there to say,
okay.
Or Julian, and I pictured Danny, and I thought, this is going to be funny, because they're not even the same race, and I know
Absolutely not Danny Glover.
And then it was like, wait a minute, I just said Julian again. It didn't work.
That's funny. I knew who you meant. Like, I literally, part of my brain translated that and went, yeah, okay, and just went rolling with it.
What a horrible joke.
Yeah. Anyway, so we watched Thunderball.
Danny Glover
and I asked her, I was like, so what do you think of Thunderball? She says, well, I liked it because I liked all the underwater stuff. That was really cool. I said, oh, well, then you're really going to like Fear Eyes Only because there's a lot of underwater stuff in that one. And then it dawned on me, Julian Glover's in that too. And I was like, oh yeah, he's the bad guy in the Bond flick. How did I forget? And it took me a minute. I had to hear him say the lines in the Bond movie before I was like, yeah, that's him. So not really serendipity, but just a little bit. But there's just
soon to be serendipity.
Soon to be serendipity. There's just so much to like in this one, and obviously John Cleese showing up.
John Cleese and what's her
Which
name?
I was slightly disappointed that it was such a small part.
There's
John Cleese and Dr.
Eleanor
Who,
Braun.
come on! And so small.
Well,
it was a funny bit.
It was because Douglas knew John Cleese, and he asked him to do this small part. Cameo, and
I thought he would be
Eleanor Braun. You guys realize she came back as Kara in Revelation of the Daleks. She returned and actually played a larger role in that. So,
I guess I had heard before that John Cleese was in an episode of Doctor Who. I just assumed he was a supporting cast member, not a cameo.
No.
You couldn't have John Cleese. You could in the new series. You couldn't have John Cleese as a supporting cast member in Classic Who.
Some other notes. These are coming from Wiki. Where did I want to see that from? The Mona Lisa apparently will play, for us, a key role in the 5th serial of the 3rd series of Sarah Jane Adventures, Mona Lisa's Revenge.
Ooh.
In the Big Finish production, The Lost Stories, The Nightmare Fair, Colin Baker's doctor says he knew a person who liked to knock down walls in Paris. A reference to Duggan.
Nice.
And footage from this story appears in the projection from the Cyberman's info stamp in the next Doctor.
Oh, Oh.
So that's where they pulled from here from.
That's cool.
All right. Well, is there anything else you guys want to talk about this story?
Overly very enjoyable.
Overly enjoyable?
Yeah.
Is that a word?
That doesn't really fit. Very enjoyable.
I'd go with overly enjoyable. I don't know that I would have ever thought to put it overly and enjoyable together, but I like it. I'm going with overly enjoyable story.
Here's an interesting tidbit.
I enjoyed it. If I found it cheap, I'd pick it up.
Yep.
Lala Ward, seeing her costumes were an important part of creating the role of Romana, she clashed with costume designer Dorian James, rejecting the silver cat suit James had designed for her for the story.
So he wanted a Zoe look for her.
Ward came up with the idea for the schoolgirl costume she wore in conjunction with Tom Baker, recalling, well, I thought it would be fun to wear something that little girls probably hated wearing, because at least this might cheer them up. I didn't bank on the fact that I'd get loads of letters from their fathers saying, cool schoolgirl.
She recounted that on the, I can't remember what disc her costume dressing the companion documentary is on, but she recounts that on that.
Well, I think Kirk tweeted during Friday Night Who that he would love to get Lala for Planet Comic-Con.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what's coming up?
One more note before we get there, because I keep finding interesting tidbits.
Yeah.
City of Death is one of the few Doctor Who serials from the series' original run not to have been novelized by Target Books. Target approached Douglas Adams on a number of occasions with a view to commissioning a novelization, offering their standard advance of £600. Adams replied, saying, I don't want to be embarrassing, but I do have a tendency to be a best-selling author. Target, concerned that regular authors would seek better terms, refused to change the offer. So there's that for you.
More reason to love Douglas.
What's coming up on the schedule?
Coming up on the schedule. Next week, more Tom Baker fun, as we do one of my all-time favorite stories, The Android Invasion, with Sarah Jane. And we will commence that on Friday Night Who next week, Friday. We push play at midnight.
I will be here because I haven't seen this story since I was a kid.
Oh, joy.
Yeah.
Good.
And then we mentioned Duggan being a little lost and mad to have been, maybe possibly being Torchwood. Well, guess what? We're going to get a little Torchwood action. BBC Radio, our show next week, we will be reviewing The Android Invasion and BBC Radio's Torchwood Lost Souls, which is an audio adventure that they did starring John Barrowman and everything.
We are?
We are. And there's a reason for the madness there, because it is apparently set prior to Children of Earth, which is the following week. So we wanted to get Keith. I'm trying to keep Keith as chronological as possible on his
Which
Torchwood.
Those who picked up the DVDs, that was a disc included, correct, Sean?
Yes, if you own the Torchwood Children of Earth, you actually get a CD copy of it in there, which is what we'll be listening to.
Which I'm going to steal.
Well, you can borrow.
Okay.
You have to return. This is not the Mona Lisa.
I'll
it
borrow.
Must come back.
I will borrow so I can listen to it in the car.
All right. Anything else? We have more Douglas Adams coming up, too.
Yeah. Eventually.
Eventually. We keep pushing it back,
promise.
but we will get there.
We will get there eventually. Anything else you want to talk about on the schedule that's coming up?
I don't think so.
I think that's enough to tide them over.
That's right.
If you want to look further into the future, head to our website,
travelingthevortex.com. And I'll get something else on the website. I will say this. I will throw out there that if you are looking to purchase some Doctor Who DVDs from 2 Entertain, you may want to set your sights on next month's releases that will be coming out on the 10th. Ballparkish.
I don't know. You're keeper of the schedule.
Well, I don't keep 2 Entertain's schedule. It's the second Tuesday of the month. Is always
But you make
Doctor Who
this
Day.
based on when things come out.
I do. And
well, some of it.
Next month on DVD, we're finally getting The Crotons with Patrick Troughton and Death to the Daleks with John Pertwee.
The 10th is correct.
Thank you. They'll come out on the 10th of July here in the North America, U.S. And so if you're looking to purchase some Doctor Who's that you think you'd like to take part in our Friday Night Who's, Both of those are on the schedule. So you may want to place your pre-orders now, and I believe you might be able to do that through the Amazon store link on our website.
That's right. All right, that's going to do it for us this week. We do have some audio from Dr. Phil. He's going to talk about, after we sign out, he's going to talk a little bit about the music of City of Death. So be sure to stick around for that.
Absolutely.
Until next week, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everyone.
Be seeing you.
Bye-bye,
Duggan.
What now?
Communication from Watchtower Command. Mistress.
Authorized capsule entry imminent. Stand to on Sector 7.
Dr. Phil again with another installment of Adventures in Time, Space, and Music. In this segment, we'll be looking at the music of Dudley Simpson, using the City of Death as an example culminating all his work from the final seasons working on Doctor Who. Dudley Simpson was born in 1922 in Melbourne, Australia. Simpson composed for many genres, but is best known for his incidental music on Doctor Who, specifically in the 1960s and 70s. He only appeared on screen in the series once, as the conductor of the Music Hall 1977 serial The Talons of Weng Chiang. On this occasion, he had to receive a special fee through the Musicians' Union as he was not a member of the Actors' Union, Equity. During the period of 1977 to 1979, Dudley Simpson scored every story of the Graham Williams era, including some very strong stories including Horror of Fang Rock, The Invisible Enemy, Image of the Fendal, The Sunmakers, The Invasion of Time, the Key to Time season, as well as season 17, culminating in the score to the serial 5H, story 105, called The City of Death. While not well received at the time critically, it boasted some impressive audience figures. ITV was not broadcasting due to union action, and has since been acclaimed a classic story, not just for its direction and acting, but also for its strong script and its musical score. Typically, in Simpson's scores from the 1970s, he would often use session musicians, brass, timpani, and low wind such as a bass clarinet, in combination with electronic sounds from the BBC Radiophonic Workshop. This is what is referred to as the classic Doctor Who sound of the 1970s, specifically from the Philip Hinchcliffe and Graham Williams eras. City of Death is unique in his output as the score uses more acoustic instruments to evoke specifically the French flavor of the Parisian setting. His score, while seemingly traditional in the settings of the basement laboratory and the dawn of life on Earth, is juxtaposed by cinematic score highlighting the flute and alto flute, as well as soprano and clarinet, drawing on turn-of-the-century French music for its inspiration. This music accompanies sweeping shots of the Doctor, Romana, and Duggan, surrounded by French landmarks such as Notre Dame Cathedral, the Arc de Triomphe, the Eiffel Tower, and the Louvre. It is noteworthy that there is a heightened role of the piano in the score, specifically an upright piano, giving the score a French cabaret sort of atmosphere. City of Death is one of the few times in the classic series that Simpsons music takes center stage and drives the action and setting. In a season that felt inflation and union action cripple production of the show, it's impressive to see a Doctor Who story that attracted an inspired cast. From Julian Glover's icy Count Scarleone/Scaroth to Catherine Schell's Countess to the comedic brilliance of Tom Chadwin's Duggan. This was a cast at the top of its game, and while Tom Baker's excesses abound here, it's one of the few times in season 17 where they feel completely inspired and appropriate. Being the first Doctor Who story shot abroad, the film sequences make this story feel epic, and additionally, David Agnew's script well, Douglas Adams and Graham Williams' rewrite of David Fisher's A Gamble of Time, is imaginative and probably the best Doctor Who script of the late 1970s, if not the entire Graham Williams era. Filled with great wit and humor, it is excellent commentary on the value of art. Romana sees art simply in its role to depict its subject. Count Scarleone sees the theft of the Mona Lisa as a means to an end to pay for his experiments with time. The Countess, she sees it as a symbol of status. It's left to the Doctor to educate the audience on the true value of art. This is one of the best morals ever depicted in Doctor Who stories and would not return again until the 2010 Richard Curtis script Vincent and the Doctor. Unfortunately, as with many of Dudley Simpson's scores, there are no commercial releases. In their foresight, the BBC did not retain the master audio tapes for the majority of Simpsons scores.
Is no one interested in history?
Like the destruction of the master reels of classic-era black and white stories, this is indeed a saddening reality of fans of the classic series. Nonetheless, I would highly recommend the 2005 DVD release, one that excels before 2 Entertain took over the DVD range. This 2-disc set is packed with some witty extras that capture all of the strengths of this story. The documentaries highlighted the aspects of production, while new series writers Rob Shearman and Stephen Moffat offer fabulous commentary on the legacy of City of Death. As a final note, I think it best to leave the closing comments to the most famous guest stars in the story, John Cleese and Eleanor Braun, from the close of Episode 4.
A functionalism.
Yes, and I see what you mean. Divorced from its function and seen purely as a piece of art, its structure of line and colour is curiously counterpointed by the redundant vestiges of its function.
And since it has no call to be here, the art lies in the fact that it is here.
Excellent. Absolutely exquisite.
Bye-bye, Duggan!
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.